Yes, folks, the meat and potatoes, and once again, it's fun. I'm enjoying these. We're going to build today's main education in response to a question that we recently received. Last week, we did it around elite and Olympic mindset of athletes. This week, it's actually more about the mature athlete. And I thought, why not? Let's do this. We're on a roll here, so let's go with the flow. And I want to try and build much of the education around the stuff that you guys want to hear. And so here we are once again this week doing a little bit of a modified Q&A. One question, one answer, with me adding a little bit of additional context around this. So this is from a long-time pod listener from Canada, Claire. And Claire, thank you very much for writing in. And sorry it took me 2 weeks to get back to you outside of the initial email, but here it is today. This show is for you, and I hope that it's helpful. For the rest of the listeners, here we go. Here is Claire's question that she asked. She said, "Hello from Canada, and thank you for your podcast. I love your perspective on integrating sport into life. My question is this. I've been racing as an amateur triathlete for many years. I did my first triathlon when I was 20 years old, and now I'm just about to turn 42. I haven't raced every single year because I had 3 babies in that time, but my total time in the sport is nearly 22 years. Fantastic stuff. Great longevity, Claire. I never really expected myself to grow older in this sport, but I love it so much that I want to keep doing it as long as my body will hold up. Do you guys have any ideas of how to shift your focus as you start to get older and slower, in parentheses, so that you're less focused on the outcomes and the times and more focused on goals that are still motivating and achievable as you age in the sport? How do you keep getting joy from doing triathlon when you just keep getting slower?" Well, it's a great question, and it's a challenge that many people face, of course. And I would say that a good portion of incoming purple patch athletes are in very, very similar situations to you, Claire. And it's great. In fact, I'll never forget a good friend of mine now, Joe, who came to me when he was 49 years of age, and he said, "I'm almost 50. I guess my game is just trying to not slow down too much." And I said, "F that. Let's make you faster." And he did his fastest half Ironman at the age of 56 years of age, maybe even 57 years of age. And he just keeps improving. Now, he did it by shifting his focus, by evolving the mindset a little bit, and changing up how he approached the whole sport. But it's really not about getting faster, is it? And so what I want to do is break down a few pieces of advice. And we're going to do this into 3 sections. First is perspective, how you actually build the relationship with the sport. The second, I'm going to dig into a little bit around training, because I think that'll be helpful. And then third, I'm going to extend the conversation a little bit and just touch on habits to close out the show, okay? So 3 sections. Perspective, then we're going to go into training, then we're going to go into habits. Alrighty? So with that, Barry, let's lock and load. Let's do it. Part 1, guys. Perspective. Building your relationship with your sport as you start to mature. Now, as pointed out, there is no need to dilute your desire or your ambition as you start to mature in the sport. It just might evolve a little bit. One of the things that I see is too many maturing athletes that become, for lack of a better phrase, become defensive in their mindset. And so they start to just fall into the trap of, I'm just trying not to slow down. I'm just going to shift from not competing, but just completing. Or just giving up on competitive drive altogether. Maybe I should just exercise and stay healthy. Why should I take on a challenge? Now, there is an inevitability to this game. As you start to mature, your body will slow down over the increasing years. We can't beat physiology, but we sure as heck can slow it down. And we can evolve our focus and our emphasis of where we train and how we train to create a catalyst to retain levels or even sometimes improve levels. But there is a physiological truth. As we do get older, we are going to ultimately lose strength, have to endure increasing time of recovery necessary between hard bouts, so therefore have a reduced capacity to train hard all the time. We're also going to have a reduction of our ability to produce power. And unless really nurtured, we're probably going to lose some joint mobility, a little bit of coordination and balance. So all of these things ultimately will start to come a little bit undone as we do mature. And the truth of that is ultimately it's a game where, you're not going to go as fast. But that doesn't mean that ambition should erode, that growth still shouldn't be a predominant part of your mindset. We can keep improving if we evolve. And there's a few options for this of how you shift your relationship and start to ignite imagination, excitement, ambition, growth, challenge, all of these things that I believe are really, really healthy and do not have to be defined by finish place, how fast you go, what you qualify for, etc. And so the first part of this is maybe spending a little bit of time really defining or redefining potentially your purpose. And let me just give you an example here, because I can't give you the direct answers to this, Claire, or anyone else. But my guess is, if I had to guess, in your 20s, as a youth doing this sport, I'm sure that the mission, the purpose, was performance in the strictest sense. How fast can I go? Where can I come? What are the podiums I can maybe chase? What finish lines can I get across? So it was very much performance driven in the way that we tend to look at things generally. But this is a really nice time as you start to enter your 40s and beyond. And by the way, I think you can still get faster. But it's a good time to actually reconnect with your why in sport. And perhaps there's a broader perspective on the reason for you doing this and really what defines success. Because what came across in your question is you love it, it provides satisfaction, and it's a challenge. And that's really, really healthy for us. We grow under challenge. But I'm sure it might evolve to where your purpose could extend beyond racing. Perhaps there's a part of you that wants to ensure that you're an inspiration, a role model for your kids. And maybe that's a part of the reason for doing it. I'm sure that you probably want to have in your 40s into 50s into 60s, 70s and beyond, that you hope to have the highest quality of life possible so that you can go and explore and do anything you want in your life without needing to wait for assistance to get upstairs or whatever it might be. So there's probably a longevity and quality of life component to it. In other words, really defining and understanding why you love this sport and what success looks like makes it immeasurably easier to begin to then set goals that fit under that banner. Because a goal is really only beneficial if it guides you towards your why, your purpose. We're going to do a whole show on goals versus purpose, but a lot of people just choose events because they're in front of them. All right, this year I'm going to go and do Oceanside Half Ironman and I'm going to go and do the World Championships. But quite often without really understanding your purpose or why. And so I think that you're in a place right now that there might be a shift of what you hope to draw out of the sport and what success looks like. And so that's the first little process you want to go through. And you don't have to come to an answer over 15 minutes with a piece of paper in front of you, but it can be an emerging process where you really start to identify, what do I love? Why am I doing this? What does success look like? Therefore, what goals can I put into place that are going to bridge me to there? So that's one component that I think is a really healthy thing for you to go through. The second is a consideration of maybe broadening out your race choices and the type of challenges that you take on. So I encourage you, absolutely, continue with triathlon. It sounds like you love the sport, and that's fantastic. You might just add some novel or different challenges in there. Something that's going to elicit the stuff that's really healthy, get you out of your comfort zone. Maybe elicit a little bit of fear. Can I really go and do this? And create a different set of challenges for you to go and get ready. And this could be, quote, anything. It could be an ultra-distance trail run. Maybe it's a really challenging multi-day riding bike trip through Europe or the White Mountains in the summer, whatever it might be. Even a huge hike over back-to-back days or multiple days. I just had friends that came back from the Chamonix area, 4 or 5 days, massive hiking, really different. Very different type of challenge. And it elicited a different goal, a different challenge, a different opportunity for growth. It could even be something completely, seemingly counter to your sport and identity as a triathlete. It could be a Spartan type of race or a high rocks, which are very popular and trendy right now. These types of components, they're all really, really healthy. The key is it can really help freshen things up. It's not about you changing or shifting your emphasis. You still should do triathlons, but still integrating something else in. You'll be amazed at how fresh and exciting that can be. I would also recommend that if you're under the triathlon banner, maybe do some different types of races. So perhaps before you did races that you could maybe do really well at because they were flatter and faster and you could get a PR. But maybe you go and do cool races in cool places, a really challenging race, something that's way out there. I had someone that used to love to go and do Arizona and Florida, and we flipped it up. And he went and did the Norseman race. I mean, talk about a challenge, but a really different type of challenge that created all of the reward. It created the fear, the challenge, and everything else, but the pride and the satisfaction of completing it. I just lived this a little bit. A couple of years ago, you might have followed it when I went and did the Alt route. 7 days of riding through the Alps. Really different, really challenging, hard. But goodness me, did it freshen things up. And so in other words, these types of broadening of the lens of what it means to be a multi-sport athlete can make things really different, really fun, really fresh. And the good news about it is that there's no reference point. You're not going to have any comparison. And it's going to create that healthy fear, as I talked about, get you out of your comfort zone. And pretty much flipping things around a little bit, it's probably going to be really good for your body. And so with these two options, I think those are two gateways where you can start to form a new relationship with the sport. And you can still continue to chase improvements and growth. Now, I would add one more, a little bonus that I really like. If we hold hands, look ahead and say, okay, you're probably not in a situation where you're going to radically improve your power, your strength, or even your endurance. After all, you've got a long, long history of this sport. Fair enough. But can you take on a different challenge? Can you actually leverage all of your history in the sport, all of that training, and can you get more cunning? Can you be smarter? Can you lean on and leverage your experience to keep going faster and faster relative to your younger self and relative to less experienced and younger athletes that you're going to be competing about? In other words, how can you stay competitive and chasing your personal performance goals by improving how you race? You can get smarter with your distribution of your fitness, maybe evolve your hydration and nutrition, and certainly, because 99% of the people that I meet when they come into Purple Patch can radically improve their speed return relative to their fitness by getting better at the art of racing, terrain management, a shift in your training approach, which we'll go into in part 2, better pacing, even better supporting habits. And if that's igniting a little spark of inspiration, guess what? It can be really fun. It's a question. How do I go as fast or faster with less? Whew, what a challenge, but also what an accessible challenge. And so that's the relationship and the perspective side.